Hey guys, so I'm pulling up a stool on this one for this one because one, this review is probably gonna run a tad long, like this movie, and two, I kind of hurt my ankle today, so standing is a bit painful. So please bear with me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's directed by Quentin Tarantino and stars Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie, Al Pacino, and a huge cast of others. And it tells the story of a faded Hollywood star and his stunt double during the late 60s, early 70s Hollywood era. So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This movie, wow, so much to unpack here. Let me start by saying that like a lot of other people, I'm a fan of Quentin Tarantino. Do I love all his movies? No, I do not. I do, however, enjoy that he does seem to try to do something a bit different every time. Even though his style is always there, his stamp is always on his films, he does try to put out something different with each outing. And I appreciate that, I really do. It doesn't feel like you're watching the same thing over and over again, which, some directors do tend to get stuck in a mold. And this movie, for me, of course, with the star power behind it and Quentin behind it, I definitely was very psyched to see it. Unfortunately for me, and I think Australia, certain parts of the world, this movie didn't open in cinemas here locally until this week. So I was so upset by that. I actually reached out to my local cinemas, saying what the hell is going on. Turned out we weren't getting it from wherever you get these things from until the last week in August. So here I am. This movie, visually, first of all, this movie definitely looks like it's a product of that era, that late 60s, 70s era. From the opening credits that he uses, the font style he uses, everything about this movie is a love letter to that era. And I think for people who grew up watching the movies of that era, they will definitely find something more to enjoy here. Maybe even if they're not Tarantino fans. The score of this film, of course, Tarantino and his scores, they're always a cut above the rest in my humble opinion, and it doesn't fail here either, from the soundtrack and music that is used, which I'm not familiar with, but I can definitely tell it's a product of that era. To the costume designs, the cars, the location, this almost seemed like this movie was shot in that timeline, in that period, and that's saying something. The acting, of course, oh wow, what is there to say? Leo definitely needs to get an Oscar for this one. He needs a second Oscar on this one because he blows it away as this character. He really does. It's all about the small things, the little things, with that little stutter this character has, the way he's, always kind of coughing and he looks a bit sickly. His moments on his own when he's like talking to himself. My absolute favorite scene in this movie, the bar scene, the cowboy bar scene. Let me leave it at that. Timothy Oliphant and Leonardo DiCaprio. Holy crap, that is it felt like you were seeing something that you would not normally see. Us the viewers, this movie is definitely a look behind the lens of Hollywood in more ways than one, and I had a blast. That scene, I was just riveted by that scene, and I didn't know where it was going for the longest while until a certain moment happens with Leo's character, and I was just in that moment. I was like, wait a minute, this is where we are, and I loved it. That scene for me was my absolute favorite scene. And Brad Pitt kills it here too, because they're almost opposite sides of the same coin, these two characters. And I know everybody here is either loosely based on somebody historical or it's an amalgamation of certain people. I don't know the names, but I can definitely tell he's drawing from famous people of these eras. Brad Pitt also does a wonderful job here. And like I said, they're two sides of the same coin. You have Leo's kind of neurotic, faded star, who just wants to remain relevant in Hollywood. And here's Brad Pitt, the stuntman. He has this natural swagger, this confidence. He's definitely athletic. He knows how to carry himself. He knows what he's about. But he's laid back in a sense, He doesn't seem to let anything faze him. And he's that balance that Leonardo DiCaprio's character needs, So They worked perfectly against one another. I love that dynamic. Margot Robbie here as well. Um, Now I've seen reviews that said that they think she was underused and she didn't have much to do here, and that might be true. But for me, I'm not familiar with Sharon Tate as an actress. I know who she is, due to the whole Manson thing, but I'm not familiar with her in that way. So I actually liked and enjoyed this aspect, the way Tarantino and Margot Robbie went about handling this character. It was almost like a day in the life of someone, and it made the viewing a lot more melancholy for me and a lot more tense, because I didn't, I know what the story of her life was, and I thought I knew where things were going. So spending that time with her as just as a person, and in these quiet moments where she's by herself, so obviously there's not much dialogue for Margot. I think Margot did a really good job of just portraying that character in those moments without saying a word. It was there in her face, So I think kudos to them. I honestly think they did a wonderful job, and I feel like that's all I needed there. Now, overall, guys, what is there to say? But this is definitely a Tarantino film, and this is definitely a film for lovers of Quentin Tarantino. Because is this film perfect? I don't think so. I do feel, as much as I enjoyed this movie, do not get me wrong, I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. The middle, 6 months later, that's all I'll say, it started to feel like it was running a tad too long, and it did feel tedious a bit at this point in time for me. I really was like, he needs to wrap this up, and this is something Quentin does. He indulges himself, and I mean, he pulls it off. That's the thing about it, because I don't know if I would sit and watch a movie like this from anybody else. I honestly don't know if I would, because this is the most non-Hollywood movie about Hollywood I've ever seen. It's the best way I can describe this film. It's all about those conversations, and Hateful Eight also did this. Hateful Eight is very similar in structure in a way to this, at least for me it was. But I enjoyed this a lot more than I enjoyed that movie. So overall, guys, what is there to say? But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a well-crafted, overly indulgent, awe-inspiring, awesomely acted movie. And I think it's gonna be divisive. I think that, some people may have an issue with how long this film is, and the last 45 minutes is the huge payoff for fans of Tarantino's more action-esque type movies. It's also gonna be an ending that some people may have issue with, because it's, let's just say, like Inglourious Bastards and other films, this movie is in Tarantino's universe. So don't get too bogged down in the historical facts. But guys, I liked this movie a lot. It's definitely one of my top 3 Tarantino films, and I think I'm gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. Will I watch it again? No time soon. I'm gonna need time to unpack all of this. But this movie is a film I think a lot of people are gonna be studying later on down the road in film schools, because this film throws all the rules of movie making out the window. It's Tarantino doing his own thing, and in my humble opinion, it works. So 8.5 out of 10. And that's it, guys. I guess I didn't go as long as I thought I would. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button. It's much appreciated, guys. You want to subscribe to my channel? You can click on my face right over there. And of course, you can check out my past videos right there on that side. So until next time, guys. Bye-bye.